Inside Leominster is brought to you through the generous support of Colonial Insulation Company, residential and commercial insulation and fireproofing services, specializing in blown-in cellulose as well as spray foam insulation. For more information, visit their website, colonialinsulation.com. And by Medical Arts Hearing Instruments, 52 West Street in Leominster, locally and authentically providing better hearing and quality of life since 1978. www.donotshout.com.
Hello and welcome to Inside Leominster. My name is Dean Mazzarola, Mayor for the city, and yes, we're live today, this afternoon, 4 to 5. Usually we're on 6:30 to 7:30, but this time slot seems to be working right now, and so we'll hang in there as long as we can on this, and maybe we'll make an adjustment and just stay here from 4 to 5 o'clock. The reason being there were a whole lot of things that used to happen on Thursday nights, and City Hall was open until 5:30, so we decided, well, we'll start the show at 6:30, go to 7:30, but people seem to be watching, and well, if sometimes you got to adapt and change some times around. Anyway, we're going to go right to important business this afternoon because we're going to be going to talk to check to see how the figs are growing up there in North Leominster with the Art Report.
Not North Leominster today, my friend. We are doing a remote from Framingham, Mass.
Come on.
It's like a tour of Little Italy. We just toured my daughter's backyard. 2 fig trees with figs, raspberry bushes with raspberries, tomatoes with tomatoes.
Wow.
The place is beautiful.
She got tomatoes already?
Yes.
I'm jealous.
Hey, and the last name of Bruno, she better have them. Yeah, I was surprised too. She showed us. They got little, I don't know if they're the cherry variety.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are.
That's okay.
And the other day at the beach, my grandson, it's his birthday today, 12 years old, Matthew Bruno. He's watching right now on her computer. He was at the beach with his friends and his parents, his mother, and one of the little girls that they went with was in a little bit of distress because of the tide, and Matthew to the rescue.
Wow. The guy's a hero. He went and pulled her in.
Boy Scout.
Well, boy, that makes perfect sense. Well, congratulations. Yep. You got a hero in the family.
Yes, it's typical. It's just a beautiful thing.
So it undertowed, I guess, right?
Yeah, somewhat.
That'd take you for a whirl.
Her mom says, come on in. And she says, I'm trying, but I can't. And he heard that, and he turned, swam over to her, got her.
Wow.
And he's a big boy. He's
Jeez.
over 5 foot now.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
Brought
Nice
him in.
job.
Good guy. He's a great guy. Plays flag football. Does a little bit of everything.
Good for him.
Yeah, good parents. We're very fortunate. Very fortunate. But he is watching. He could be a future mayor.
Well, I send congratulations here from Leominster, Mass.
To Matthew.
Which beach was he at?
Yeah, he's sitting out there listening to it. He had me in the pool earlier. We were playing basketball.
Well, nice.
So I'll sleep tonight.
Nice to have grandkids when you can still kind of do things with them.
Yeah, I'm enjoying watching him grow up. And
yeah.
I'm giving him the truck when he's old enough to drive. He's going to have the truck.
That's.
And that's about it. But I wanted to report, and our fig tree's doing well too.
Good, because checking my sources.
Yep. So I'm going to close off with this remote. They're all looking at me like now.
And congratulations to our hero. I'm sure Larry Wolpe will be very happy to see that.
Yes. Okay, buddy.
Rose to the occasion.
Take care.
All right, that was Art from the Art Report. Art doesn't mess around. He was traveling today to visit his grandson, and so he had to step out from the local boundaries, but didn't stop him from calling in. Everyone seems to like Art's conversations, and reminiscent of the old digital days and cars, and he pretty much could talk about anything, that guy. And he remembers everything. And so anytime I meet anybody from digital said they worked in Maynard, I say, hey, do you remember Art Bartlett? And I'd say about 70% of the time they're like, oh yeah, I knew Art. That's amazing how many people this guy knew. And he remembers everything. He remembers everybody from the Carbon area. Remembers, I think, anybody that ever came in on his radar. He remembers who they are. So that's a very remarkable and all-outright good guy, right? Anyway, okay. If you have any questions, 978-537-7760, extension 3. And we'd be glad to update you on what's happening around the city. And our good friend, Jeff Roberge, will be here in about a minute. If you want to bring him in and get him set up and get him mic'd, be right in. He's been a good friend of the show, not just during the COVID, but before that. And when the economy was thriving and painting a different picture, the economy was thriving. And we'd have Jeff in here saying, Jeff, how do we find employees? Well, we got to better their skills and sort of take people at entry level. And so now we're in a little bit of a different, situation. But that's where Mass Hire and Jeff and the whole organization is able to adapt. So anyway, Jeff, welcome to the show again.
Thanks for having me.
You got a haircut since the last time I saw you. I've gotten 2.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah, no messing around.
Yeah, I go right downtown, Bob George's.
I had the large bottle of that gel stuff that was keeping everything matted down. I felt like something from the 50s.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time. Yeah, me too. When I start using a lot of gel, I know it's time to go get a haircut.
Yeah, no, gel is getting expensive. It's getting more expensive than a haircut. So anyway, well, welcome to the show again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Things have certainly changed at Mass Hire. We were talking about February jobless, claims were at, I don't know, 17,000 for the whole month or something.
It was, I think, in that month, and then it jumped to like 30,000. I mean, I think it was, almost 750,000 unemployment claims since this thing hit, maybe even about 1 million folks across the state.
And they're all processed.
All processed. So at this point, like we talked last time, when this all hit, the Mass Hire system, the career centers, shifted what they were doing to support the Department of Unemployment Assistance. Right. They didn't have enough people to handle the volumes. They asked the career centers to train their staff to work virtually and field calls. So, over at Erdman Way, that's what we did with the staff over there. They were all at home, but they were trained to take those calls and help people file claims. To this point, a majority of the Mass Hire staff have backed off. The state was able to hire, I think, 500, maybe 800 people to work virtually to field all these calls. There's still 3 staff at Erdman Way that are still working with DUA, helping the triage. But at this point, I think DUA has been able to get everything under wraps. They set up their virtual call centers. Originally, they had a contact sheet that people needed to fill out and then wait for a call back.
Yeah. Double the work.
Yeah, they've got that all resolved. So at this point, it's just, as calls come into the career center, making sure people know where to go on the websites, whether it's the DUA, the UI, site or the PUA. I think the biggest thing that the viewers should know at this point, because we're getting a lot of calls about it, is prior to COVID, there was a breach of people's personal information nationally. And I think it came from either Equifax or one of the, I'm not sure where it originated, but it affected folks who were receiving PUA. So now there is a delay. So now people are being delayed. It's taking a while for them to get those PUA benefits. Because there was this breach, there's the MAS system had to set up a system where people notified that there was a breach, or they received a letter saying someone tried to file a claim in your name.
And a couple of people today, when we were talking about on Facebook, said, hey, I filed for a claim, and somebody already tried to open up a claim.
That's exactly what's happening.
Is that what she was talking about?
It's across the nation, so it was a huge breach. So it wasn't the mass DUA system that got breached. It was a national breach. People started getting people's personal information. So now all of a sudden we hit this COVID, huge unemployment numbers. these, what I'll call thieves, then started to try and get access to the various states' systems. So that's been the biggest issue, the information we're getting out to folks. If people aren't sure what to do, or they've received a letter, or there's a delay, they can always reach out to us. I can make sure they get all the information, the steps they need to take with the state to help resolve that, so that the claim can be processed.
All right, so that's good advice right there.
So that's the stuff on the unemployment end. The Career Center itself, I'm very happy to report that we've been able to shift everything virtually. You know, there's been a lot of talk about unemployment, a lot of people out of work. That system, we've been making sure that we can get people the support they need, obviously during this tough time. But I just want to say the Career Center is virtually open. Yes, the doors are still closed to the public, but all of the services are available. So the Career Center seminar, access to a counselor for job search. We're running all types of workshops around resume, workshops for employers to learn how to access some of the state resources to help support them as they come back to work, as they're opening their businesses and now they need staff, or they're not sure about furloughing versus laying people off versus what support can I get to hire people back. So all of those services are now completely virtual.
That's wonderful. As I've said right along, on the city side, we've stayed open the whole time. We've never missed a step. In fact, in a couple of areas, we're actually a little bit ahead of where we typically are. So it worked out well, and buildings aren't open, but we'll meet you anywhere. We'll send you anything. You can leave things off. Doesn't matter. We just had to adapt, right? We had to adapt and reprogram ourselves in terms of what was necessary. Just go for the flow, right?
I think, we all got very used to Zoom and WebEx and GoTo meetings and all those types of things that we're using, several times a day to just keep business going. What I'll say to the employers out there and to the job seekers, if they ever have any questions, they're not sure what to do, we're always available at the Workforce Board. We're right at Urban Way. They can get to us via the website, my phone number. Stacy Johnson, who's the operations manager down at the Career Center, she's there every day triaging any calls that come in, helping to get the information to the counselors. And Scott Percival, who's the business services rep for the Career Center. I mean, he's working with businesses all the time to make sure that we know who's posting what type of jobs, who's looking to hire where, how we can connect those folks. We put all the stuff on the websites.
So what's the data tell us about bringing people back? Are businesses starting to bring people back?
Some industries are.
Yep.
In this particular region, some of the manufacturers obviously had to shift a lot of what they were doing to make the PPE and do it with one. I mean, we have such an incredible amount of great manufacturers, as you know, in our region that did continue to do all kinds of great work. So some of those manufacturers are looking at ways to bring people back. Healthcare, there's a huge need in healthcare. Now, the state even put out a program where they worked with the healthcare providers to provide a $1,000 sign-on bonus funded through the state to encourage people to go into the healthcare sector.
Like what kind of jobs?
Anywhere from CNA to home health aide to LPN to students who were going to be graduating, hadn't graduated yet. There was still a mechanism to help them find jobs. Now, I get it. Folks, obviously, with healthcare and being with COVID, people were concerned about being in some of these facilities, things like that. But there's a huge need to support the healthcare, all of the healthcare industries in our region.
So there's jobs there. People are getting called back.
There are jobs
and they're
there.
Actually looking for people.
We just recently applied for a grant, a workforce training grant. Co-sponsored ourselves and the Workforce Board down in Central, so it's the entire Central region, a 3-year grant to provide healthcare-related training. So we become a healthcare hub for this region, and then we work with our training partners like the Mount, Fitchburg State, Worcester State, Quinsigamond to develop various healthcare-related training programs and get people into these jobs.
It's strange because we were down at Quinsigamond not long ago when they were sort of doing retooling, some of the automation and getting grants for, and then all of a sudden everything just shifted, and for those that didn't shift with it, and make the changes. Look at Starbucks. They just got through remodeling, and COVID hit.
Right.
But the lucky part is people are willing to sit in line for an hour. I mean, they lucked out.
You see the line. I go to
they lucked out.
Yeah, you see the line.
In fact,
down on Route
they're
2.
saying now, inner city, right? I mean, this Starbucks here, I wouldn't doubt if it's one of their best performing. Hang on. I wouldn't doubt if it's one of their best performing stores in the Northeast or anywhere when you consider what they pay per square foot. Now, so what they've said now is in other areas where they're paying, some places they're paying hundreds of dollars a square foot.
Sure.
They're thinking, but we've got 2,000 square feet. We might not need it now. Right? I mean, so everybody's retooling themselves to think.
We talk to so many businesses, and they're looking at their footprints, they're looking at their leases, they're looking at how they can, create this hybrid work model where people on rotating shifts are coming in, because you still have the capacity issues in some of these businesses, and once you go virtual. And I see it on the state end because it takes a while to convert once you're in this sort of virtual setting, how do you take a step back?
Right.
Because now you've created a workforce that it may be used to, a different way to do work every day.
And that's all fine and good, and unless you have, part of your job is to have face-to-face customer service contact with the public.
Working in the health and human services sector, the workforce development sector, that personal connection, that face-to-face, whether it's with counselors who need the opportunity to sit around and sort of look at cases and bounce ideas, you need that sort of camaraderie. And certainly with the business, their businesses, that's your customer. That's customer satisfaction. That's that face-to-face stuff. So,
building those relationships.
Yeah.
Rather than, sometimes I'm on the phone with somebody. I'm like, I don't even think I ever actually met you.
Right.
Like in person, I've always talked to you on the phone.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, well, I never actually knew this person. Sometimes you can, build a connection or at least a working relationship on the phone with somebody. And then other times you just can't. That's just don't have that language. So you.
Not to sound too, but there's an energy that sometimes when you're with, you pick up energy on stuff. There's like body language stuff. There, all those things that happen, that face-to-face business meetings and colleagues and,
I still buy
friends.
stamps.
Good.
In person.
Yeah.
All right? I can get them electronically, and I don't even need stamps, anymore. I can just pay my bills through.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you know how many personal people, if you send a check out to a small business or whatever, and I buy all those, those fancy stamps that they might have. So it does a couple of things. It supports those organizations that are sometimes making money off the stamps.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeps people employed.
Exactly.
And you're actually still doing something that you could do 50 years ago, 75 years ago. There aren't many of those things. You can't go into a old style drugstore somewhere and throw a penny in to find out how much you weigh, or buy stamps out of a machine. Those experiences are gone. One of the last experiences that you can still have is going to the post office and talk to a live person and complain about how long the line is.
I'll tell you, as a kid, one of the greatest things, we're at the mall or something like that, you get a quarter, a nickel, whatever, and there's the gumball machines and all that. There's not going to be that stuff anymore.
No,
but
you can't touch those
Those are some of those, sweet things in life that right now.
So that's why I say so. So I still do some of those things. It hasn't replaced it for me. You get to talk to them. You get to talk to people about the stamps. Yeah, I don't know. Just one of those things that you continue to want to do. So for remember the banks were going to get rid of the drive-ups. They were gonna, right? Remember all the banks that got rid of the drive-ups? What a decision that was, right? Then they were left with, oh no, we don't have any drive-up windows here.
How do we get to our customers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so a lot has changed. And
Absolutely.
so let's just backtrack for a minute and explain how Mass Hire came about, because it's had a number of different names to it. And some people may remember going to Broad Street in Fitchburg down near Crocker Field in the old unemployment office, and then having to go to another branch of government for something else. Just sort of explain how this has all come under one umbrella.
So the Mass Hire brand, or the Mass Hire name, now there were 16, even more career centers across the state, right? Each career center had a different name. Each workforce board had a different name. So the system itself, some career centers were like a walk-in center for unemployment. Others now weren't, and now all unemployment is online. So a lot of those, people used to say, "Oh, the unemployment office." Well, that's not Mass Hire.
Right. But that's what people remember.
Correct, because at one point that's how it was, and then DUA decided that
went
they were
down
going
on
to close
Tuesdays to collect.
Correct. They were going to close those centers, move everything online. Now, some of the career centers still had time where people could come in, ask questions, but these were typically people that were Career Center customers, but just may also happen to have questions about the UA. They were actually getting employment services through the Career Centers. So I want to say maybe 4 years ago, the state determined that they needed one name. They needed, it became, and this is through Department of Labor, the mass hire system. And all of the career centers would be mass hire career centers. The workforce boards would be the mass hire workforce boards. And really the goal there was to have, no matter where you went, wherever you lived, in the Commonwealth, if you needed career center-based services, training, job support services, there was a mass hire office that could serve you.
And it had, had a brand to it.
They had a brand.
Like other states, you, no matter where you go, I don't care where you are, in much larger states, it's all under one roof, and it's a brand, and it's like the T, when they put the T out there. You know exactly what it is. We had so many different organizations that were overlapping.
And people didn't know where to go, and they didn't know the name.
You need people just to do that, help them figure it out.
So the mass hire system is a combination of all of the career centers across the Commonwealth, as well as all of the workforce boards. Now, the workforce boards is what I do. So we oversee, our job is to make sure any of the federal and state money that comes into this region for workforce development, for training, for job-related services, that we see those dollars come in, and they help support what happens at the Career Center, but our goal is to also look for workforce training grants, connect employers, job seekers, and our educators doing one mission to improve the economy and improve the job outlook for this region. So that's what the board does. Mass Hire North Central Workforce Board, and then the Mass Hire North Central Career Center. They are the entity that if someone is looking for work, looking for some type of training or retraining, who has lost their job, is currently working and potentially needs training to upskill, to get additional skills so they can advance in a career, they can get information and resources on how the Career Center can help them do that.
Right, which is great. So, and different industries use different software, and they have a different way of doing business. But the reality is that's where the Career Center, that's where Mass Hire can help.
Absolutely, and what happens
Single point of entry, and then the services or whatever it is that you need to sort of get back on your feet. And that's even for people that have jobs where they can come in and say, you know what, I'm okay with my job right now, and they treat me good, and I got good benefits and everything, but I want to do better.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So they can go through Mass Hire and speak with a counselor and find out the resources available to do so. Mass Hire partners with agencies like the Mass Rehab Commission, the Department of Transitional Assistance. So we're all working together to make sure that we guide people in the best way to do so. And that entry point is the Career Center down at Urban Way.
That's great. Now, there are, as we said, companies that are looking to hire.
Yes.
There are companies looking to hire back. There are companies that don't look like they will be coming back. There are a couple of companies that I heard of in the region, or a couple of restaurants that have said, we can't make that comeback.
Right.
And so internally within the organization, if we own a couple of different restaurants, we're thinking maybe this is the time to sort of let the lease go, and so now you end up with these people. Hopefully, in the past, there was so much. I put this on so you couldn't call. In the past, it's been an employee, right?
Right.
The employee had the advantage on this. So they could say, well, they pay me a little bit more money down the street, and so-and-so's paying me more money. So I think I'm going to go with them. That might change now.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see all those types of changes.
So you talked about sort of, telecommuting, people working from home.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume there are going to be companies that said, you know what, this is working out pretty good for us. Bottom line, this is where employees aren't coming to work tired. They haven't sat on the highway for an hour and a half, 2 hours. They're aggravated. Maybe they got in an accident on the way in, the kids or whatever. And so they may look for some balance between coming to the office or
they'll
work.
create a hybrid model. I think it comes down to productivity. I mean, I think an employer is going to look at it. What am I, it's a challenge right now. I'm looking for the most productivity I can get from the workforce. What makes a happy, healthy workforce for my organization? What works for my bottom line, and what works, from a regulatory standpoint? Because depending on the industry and the job, the telecommuting thing can work, it can't work, all those types of things. But and those are the conversations that we have with employers on, if this is what you're looking to do, how can we help get you a trained workforce? How can we connect you with, potentially people that historically you may not be hiring because you didn't have these types of jobs, these, IT-related jobs or
Right.
cybersecurity type of jobs, but now you will because your business model's different.
Yeah. Everything's changed.
Everything's changed.
And that goes the same as I've been saying since day one. That's also going to change education.
Oh, yeah.
And so, whereas, it's going to add other options to education. Nothing's going to replace a good teacher, right? And a student, the kid on the log and the
Sure.
and the teacher. But think about it. Certain courses that have been taught in a college setting need to be in small environments.
Correct.
But then you walk into one of these amphitheaters, and there's 200, 300 people.
Yeah, you got
all
1,500.
learning from this particular professor.
Exactly.
And so the model's going to be a little bit different, and there'll be more hands-on. I would suspect science and things that are really, that students. I was a hands-on. You needed to show me, like kind of a Montessori
Right.
concept. You need to show me. I'll do it. You show me the right way. I'll do it the exact same way for the next
Exactly.
30 years. But boy, you better show me. Don't tell me,
Right.
because I'm not good at that.
There's a lot of people that are hands-on learners, and so trying to get, work with folks like that and
Right.
find the best way to, educate the best way you can, given the circumstances we're in right now.
And even with job retraining, there are things that you can learn online, and then there are things that we're going to require a
You know,
classroom setting.
We're very blessed with a great education system in this region, from the community colleges to the high schools to voc tech schools, and everybody is taking a look at that virtual component and what can be done virtually, versus what's hands-on. Some of the work we do a lot around manufacturing. So when we look at some of those training programs, historically there's a component that you can learn out of a book, but then there's machines
Right.
that you need to work on.
Yeah.
To learn how to do. So working with our training partners about how to create those opportunities and still give people the skills they need to be successful when they go into the workforce.
I was having a conversation. I did this on one of my morning updates. I don't know if you were watching or not that morning, but I was talking about a guy who was a vice president of a really large computer company. And we were talking about automation and how, for a lot of people think it's going to replace people.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how this is, in terms of technology in every industry, whether it's healthcare or education, whatever, we're just seeing the very beginnings of it.
Correct.
And what we're seeing is, okay, look at that technology. How can we use it? A CNC machine, for instance.
Correct.
A CNC machine now is used in almost a CNC machine. Basically, the computer program tells them to cut this block of steel
Right.
and make something out of it. But and it's similar
But
to
you
a
need
3D
the programmer.
machine.
You need
a
the
programmer.
operator.
That's right.
You need all of those
I
folks
brought in this
to
machine
do all that stuff.
But I also need other people now
Correct.
to help me out, because a lot more is going to come in. I have to make sure the program they send in is accurate. So when these blades start cutting in this
Correct.
machine,
Correct.
we're not going to have a mold that isn't going to fit well. And
I will tell you, those are the high priority occupations right now.
Right.
So for the folks in this particular region who are looking at potentially entering in manufacturing, those CNC operator, the CNC programmers, those are in high demand.
Yeah.
There are jobs out there for people, and good quality jobs.
you know what I find is a lot of people that are in those starting jobs
Yep.
have maybe it could be a language barrier, cultural barrier, have a difficult time road mapping. And it may be just that I go to work, I work my 8 hours, they want me to work overtime, I rush home, take care of the kids, I go to church, my
Right.
weekend, and it's Monday again.
Right.
So I never get a chance to stop sometime to, as an example, the other day, I went somewhere and I said, I've always wanted to take the street and come in here.
Mm-hmm.
But I never had a chance to, and I was always wondering, and never had the chance. So I think there are a level of people out there who are employees, good employees, and they want to get up through the levels, and they have a thing
But they
in their
can't go to a
mind.
training at nighttime.
They can't.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, in all, they don't have time. They don't have the time to stop for a second to look and see how they can, set a career path.
Right.
And so they just keep doing that job, and they get a 10-cent raise, and the employees are paying them as much as they can, but it doesn't bring them to that next level, which in many cases they're capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's some of the things we would help with that. So when we look at these workforce training grants in particular, and I'll use manufacturing as an example, and we start partnering with employers. Whenever we apply for a grant and work through a grant, we have to have employers who are committed to helping to support after people are trained. We partner with the community colleges. So it's one big system
Right.
that is creating a workforce. Or in certain cases, just like you mentioned, I've got somebody who works, but they have family, they have childcare, they have other things that they do, so they can work their 8 hours a day or whatever it is, but going to a training program at night isn't going to work for them. So that's where we sit down with the employer and we say, okay, if we can have grant funded, can we do, exactly, can the training happen during that time? Is there a way to help us talk you through about how you can change your shifts around so this particular person can go to that program during the same hours so that they can get that, you know, what we call incumbent worker training, get that training to advance?
I would love to see, and I've said this before, I would love to have a spot on Mechanic Street, you know, visible, where we do a pop-up sort of thing, where we allow people to stop in and say, hey, you know, I wanted to stop in, more getting out into the community.
Yes.
Because that networking or that building relationship sometimes gets to those people who might not necessarily, you know, that single point of entry, might not really be comfortable with that kind of style.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
might say, you know, I work here in manufacturing, but I'd really like to advance. Maybe I want to advance in another industry. Now, we did this thing at the high school, and because I'm on the board at MassDOT, we brought like an apprenticeship program into the high school. And so what they did is they actually, for a week, created like a manhole system, drainage system.
Right.
I actually did it, hands-on.
Yep.
Then I actually had the HR department from MassDOT come out and explain that on the MassDOT is the highway system, the train system, the registry of motor vehicles, mass aeronautics, all these different departments. And oh, by the way, we've got a generation of people retiring out, baby boomers, and we need people to replace them.
And here's the opportunities.
And here's the opportunities.
And here's the job descriptions.
And
and
for
here's
some
all that.
reason,
Yeah,
it didn't, you know, whether it didn't resonate, maybe they couldn't. And I'm thinking, well, maybe they couldn't picture themselves that, you mean I could be a train, I could drive one of these subways?
Be a conductor,
like me,
Yeah.
I could be a MBTA police officer.
Right.
I could be a mechanic that fixes these giant trains that, you know, a lot of them electronic today, everything's electronic. Yes, you could.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm comfortable with things like that are out there to say, I'm here, but I want to be here.
Right.
And when I make,
And how do I get there? What's my roadmap?
How I get there. And I find the ethnic population, the immigrants have a difficult time. People, language barriers have a difficult time. And so they stay in those jobs, never are able, maybe because of the language barrier, never are sort of moved up in the system and do well because of that. And yet are hard workers. They are really intelligent people. And so that's why I'd like to, you know, once in a while get out into the neighborhoods.
I agree with you. You know,
live.
whether it's right out and people can come and ask questions, whether it's set up in a virtual setting where you connect with employers or gather people, and we can provide information about what are the career ladders, how do you get from A to Z,
Right.
You know, which employers are working with us around all those things. So yeah, I agree 100% because there are folks who just. We want to make sure that we're connecting with as many people and getting the information in as many different ways.
To use all those wonderful resources.
Because there are a ton of resources.
A better you.
Yeah.
Right?
A ton of resources.
Some people, listen, I know people that ran a molding machine for over 30 years. Mm-hmm. They were as content as could be. I know people have worked in a particular vocation for 40-something years, and I say you couldn't pay enough money to do that. But they did, and they were happy doing it, and that's fine. But for those people, you know, for those people that are looking out, young people, right, especially,
you know,
what do you want to do? What do you like to do? What if you don't want to go? Remember, the big push was college.
Exactly.
Now we've gone to don't necessarily have to go to college, but
we need tradespeople. We need people who want to go into workforce training programs. I mean, there's obviously folks who go on to a 4-year degree or whatever, but we have to make sure that young folks are aware of all of the different opportunities that can be out there for career advancement.
Right.
And it, you know, for some it's the 4-year plan, and for others it's not. But everyone should be getting equal opportunity to know at least what's out there. So yeah, so we try every which way.
And maybe as the months go by, we'll talk about how do we, maybe it's groups we get together. Maybe go to church groups and say, hey, on Tuesday night, you know, there are a number of church groups that follow, I can't think of his name, tells everybody to get a job on the weekends, and he's got the plan there. What's his name? He's a radio guy. Dave Ramsey.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
so a lot of churches, you know, sort of offer courses from Dave Ramsey on financial literacy and, some of that. And they do that. So maybe the churches or places or other groups or maybe employers put this on to say, okay, on Thursday night, maybe we're going to do it at breakfast, and we're doing it at dinner, and then we're going to do one at supper time. And come on down, and we're going to put this on. Or maybe we just make good use of cable TV. And we do that there, and we start a 1-month segment on mass hire.
I would love to do that. And
have different speakers.
And I can help coordinate that. We can put all that together and make it like an employer roundtable or a career development, whatever we want to call it, for people who just want to be, who get all the information they can about making, job-related choices. Because, listen, the more people in this area that are happy, that are working, it builds a strong community.
Sure.
People get value from work. I mean, we care very deeply about making sure that this community is getting access to resources to better their lives. Buy a home, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So that's what mass hire.
Hopefully, 3 girls go to college, right? Huh?
Yeah.
I tell you, family, it's been tough on a lot of families. I know the stimulus money's been out there, but I just hope that at the end of that, people get hired back and.
Because of the extra 600 coming from the feds, it's been interesting from a workforce development standpoint.
That's the one complaint I hear is they can't get anybody to come back to work.
Well, that's the
Why
thing.
would you want to come back to work?
But that's ending July 31st. So so we'll see from there how and
I get the idea of it. I
Sure.
get the idea of it. It was trying to help people
Sure.
at those jobs.
Sure.
And but it's kind of worked the other way.
Sure.
We are opportunists
I
as
guess
Americans.
from our perspective, at this time, we know that the $600 is going to go away at the end of July.
Right.
What I encourage people to do is to not wait for that to happen.
Yes.
If you're going to have to go back to work,
Because
if
it might
your
not be that
employer
job there.
has told you they're going to hire you back, but know that the Career Center is there. There are staff, there are programs there that can start helping you think about what's going to happen next. So I just encourage people to reach out to us because we don't want have that go away, and then what they thought they were going to go back to,
Isn't
they're
there
not
anymore.
hiring yet. All these.
Or they had somebody else because they
so,
didn't want to come back to work.
I encourage people to just look to see what's out there, and there are resources, and there are people that are hiring, and there are potential training programs down the line that can help people get retrained. So, and that's all through Mass Hire.
Well, thank you again for constantly updating us.
Thank you. I love
bringing us
coming
up to
on.
date on Facebook. Communication is the greatest tool, and when you got the busiest, you communicated the most, right? And people are like,
Exactly.
why are you on twice a day? Alan was like, what are you on 3 times for? Because I'm trying to communicate because, when people bring a plan in front of planning board or somebody's coming in, I always say that the plan should answer 95% of the questions.
Yes.
It's like my budget, right? Or a budget, right?
Sure.
Should answer 95% of the questions by what's in the budget and what the budget narrative is. We shouldn't be left with a million different questions, right? So I say the same thing, and that is when it was the busiest, all of you in Mass Hire and everybody, workforce development, stepped it up, not slowed it down.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
That made a big difference.
We keep doing what we can do.
Thank you to you and all the staff down there. Let them
Dean,
know.
thank you very much for your support.
Let them know how
Yeah.
helpful that was to be able to process that many claims. I think you said when you were in here first, in all of February it was 17,000 claims, and then the first day, I don't know, sometime in March, those first few days, you did 17,000 in that one day.
In one day.
In one day.
In one day.
That's phenomenal, and nobody got left behind, and they had the snaggle there with the snafu.
And any system that had to ramp up that quickly, of
Sure.
course, and we fielded a lot of those calls, and we certainly recognize, because we had friends and family as well who were unemployed and having to go through that system, and getting the contact sheet and then the phone system set up, and then people, the way they had to call people back initially, they didn't have one system, so numbers were coming in and people weren't answering the phone because it was just some random number. All of those things, but I can assure you there were people working 24/7, 7 days a week to get this smoothed out as quick as possible.
No,
So
good job. Thank you. And,
thank you very much.
Hey, do we have photos of the week? We're going to take a quick call, and then Wendy, do we have photos of the week? I don't know. I think we do. Let's see. Anyway, we'll go through some slides and everything. Caller, welcome to the show.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Crystal, how are you?
Good.
What's going on today?
Did you heard what happened on Saturday I told you guys about?
Yes.
I hope I'm not in trouble.
No.
Oh, good.
No. I don't think so.
So Jeff Reverse does what Suzanne does, right?
Yes. Yep. Jeff's big help.
So I'll tell Jeff what I do. So Jeff, what I do is I'm a mass advocate, and what I do is I go around to different day programs and tell people don't be abused. If you're abused, you need to tell someone.
Yeah,
Well,
so she
that's
works at
great.
different day programs.
Yeah.
And there's been a great resource, and especially with the shortage of employees, where they're meaningful and they come out and do wonderful things in the workforce. They may have physical disabilities, but
Sure.
that doesn't stop them. And they're some of the best workers, and they take
Oh,
pride in what
absolutely.
they do. And I salute all of the businesses that have hired and
Sure.
given them a chance, who later find out we wish we knew there were a specific person or a group was around 20 years ago.
There's a workforce for people with all different types of
Sure.
abilities, and it's about making the right connection and helping to formulate those relationships. So, is it Crystal? Crystal,
Yes.
thanks for all you do. That's really great that you can get out there to those folks and advocate for them.
All right, Crystal,
Yeah, but can I tell you a joke of the day, buddy?
what's your joke?
Okay, what famous brothers are named after three flamingos?
What famous brothers are named after film? I don't know.
Frank, Mark, and Dean.
Oh, good one. You caught me.
I made that up.
Good job. Good joke.
All right, I'll talk to you
All
later,
right.
buddy. I'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mass High works with
Bye.
organizations like HEMA and all those different organizations that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mass High,
everybody.
Mass High, any part of what we do, and I won't bore people with the details about sort of how the legislation and all that stuff works. But yes, our role is to make sure that we're connecting with the social service agencies. Like I said, the Mass Rehab Commission, the Department of Transitional
Right,
Assistance,
right.
Mass Commission for the Blind.
That's the whole purpose of putting it all under one roof.
all under
So you
one-
don't
so
have
that-
1,000 different agencies with 1,000 different names.
And people receive services in a lot of different ways, but making sure that those services are not being duplicated, and then certainly are working in concert together to get the person the maximum amount of services that they can to be successful. So yeah, even some of the nonprofit human service agencies in the region, ultimately, Mass Hire has a relationship with all of those folks, centers around employment, and a lot of those agencies do a variety of other things, but in any type of employment-related supports, certainly Mass Hire can be a partner in that.
Well, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We are going to do. Did we find out if we're doing guys back there? Do we have? No photos of the week. No photos of the week. No, it's been a busy time. Okay, I'll fly through these as quick as I can. If you guys are ready back there. Okay. There we go. Important phone numbers: 8-4, 978-534-7500. If they're COVID related, extension 5055. There you are with the state assistance. Go to mass.gov/DUA. If you're unemployed, if you thought you're getting your job back and they tell you, nah, it didn't work out that way. We didn't. We wish we had better news, but we don't. If you're self-employed and same side of thing, you thought you had these jobs, and then all of a sudden everybody put everything on hold. There are no other jobs to bid. Mass.gov/PUA. Let's go to some more slides here. And there's our resources in the community. If you'd like to give blood, 1-800-RED Cross. Let's keep going. United Way 211 gets you all the information you need to know about assistance through COVID-19. Growing Places does fresh fruits and vegetables every Wednesday. It's like a little marketplace up at the Leominster Senior Center from 11 to 12. Catholic Charities are open tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. You see the phone number there for an appointment. Same thing at Ginny's. They're open Tuesday to Saturdays, and they're open 10 to 1. They have a really good, well-oiled system in place and works well. And please call on them if you need assistance for food and other items, 978-537-1387. Hey, you know what I see all the time? I see these different organizations or businesses saying, would you like to donate to the COVID fund or whatever it might be? And so does anybody know where that money goes? Like Ocean State asks you every time. Now, this has been going on for months. Would you like to donate to this? And so if you give them money, I don't know whether they match those dollars. And I haven't heard them coming back to local to to Leominster in particular. And so we have one, and I'm just singling them out because it's the only one I can think of. But there are a number of times during the course of the year that I will go places and they say, well, do you want to donate $1 for something? And I assume the money is either matched by the company or the money is distributed to the local community. And does anybody know like where those dollars go? I haven't seen any of the dollars come back, say, from Ocean State directly, but I want to give them credit, certainly, if they are. Let's go to the numbers for today. This is as of Wednesday, but Wendy has given me updated numbers, and let's update those numbers to say that total cases in Massachusetts have gone up 160. Total tested has gone up 800,000, and that's up 10,000, obviously. Deaths in Massachusetts have gone up 24, and Worcester County has picked up 29 new cases. Leominster is down another 2. Remember, this is going down very slowly because, remember, they're testing more, right? And they've completed 548 who are off the list, so that's up 1. So I think now it's going to be, that number that are confirmed to be testing negative and off the list. It will come faster, and then I think we'll just keep dropping 2 or 3 or 4 because we know that these cases are going to continue on, and that's why it's so important. I was saying on our daytime show that it seemed like people were getting closer in the conversations. Like, no, back up a little, right? I got the 8-foot rule, and people are getting closer. So this is the time to take extra precautions. Right? There we are. We're in the middle of the list there. The more urban you get, the higher the cases are. And the more suburban you get, the lower the cases are. We're really out there in the 680 total. But you get to places like, Methuen and Everett and Revere and Marlborough, more densely populated, Braintree and places like that, then you get higher numbers. Reopening plan is going well. Yes, you can play tennis. You can go to the city's website at leominster-ma.gov. They will tell you exactly the proper protocols to be following. And we are distributing, and I'm going to ask at the library how much material we've been distributing to the public, how well that service is working. I have not heard from the department head at all, but we will make sure that we get an update tomorrow as to how it's going. But anyway, you can place holds, bring back materials. There are rules and conditions and restrictions. So 978-537-5222, extension 3. Johnny Appleseed Visitor Center is open. Talked to Roy today, the director over at the Chamber of Commerce. We gambled some years ago, and I came from a number of meetings that I went to, both from MassDOT and other meetings, and from friends in certain businesses. And my message would always be, why is it we can't, attract those large computer companies? Why can't we get them here? And they'll only go to the inner city. They'll only go to, places like, the outer belt of 495 and the outer belt. They'll get inside the seaport. Everybody seems to be rushing there. And I talked to a friend, and he said, I can't get people to get him to go to Littleton, where there's 3 of our facilities. So we're building another facility along the seaport. And that message was repeated to me more and more often, that there are certain businesses that you can get, or sections of that business. And we said, you know what? We're gonna speculate here, and we're gonna put our energies behind letting businesses and people know what they're missing. And that's not to say a city life isn't a good life, but it's not a good life for everyone. It's certainly not an affordable life. That there are other options, and that we have a train that will bring you into the city when you want. And you know what? At night, it's an hour trip, and you could park at Alewife, and you could park in Acton and South Concord or North Concord or East Concord, and get the train in at night as well. And it's low cost to be able to do that. But this area presents so many different options. And when you look around, where can you get the amount of open space that you see here that belongs to you, the taxpayer? Where can you get an apple orchard? Where can you get the amenities of a city without the city, right? Without all of that density. And so, that's the speculation that we did. That was our marketing effort. And it seemed to have worked gradually as companies started to come here saying, well, we might not need to have all of our operation in Boston. We're starting to look now out in the suburbs to see where we can't run some of our operations. And I suggest to you, we're going to see a lot more of that as they follow their employees to their front door to say, well, where are these people living? So anyway, Johnny Appleseed Visitor Center is an important amenity for the city and extremely important. So we are seeing that migration that comes. They travel from the east. They travel. They get here and they realize that we have great local government, good schools. We have all the open space that you want, all the things for the families. We started out in 1994, and we counted about 5 things, including Leominster. We counted like 5 things that we could all say we were famous for. So Fitchburg had their things, Leominster had their things, and other places had a thing or two. And then we went to, dozens of events here in the city saying this is something that we believe is value added and that people are going to down the road enjoy and like and support, and it worked, right? And now look around, almost every community has got a number of different events that are happening, and it's all served them well. Everybody calls me during my show. I guess they don't watch. They're in trouble. Let's see. So how is the state doing their calculations? 7-day average of positive results, 3-day average of hospitalizations, hospitals using ICU. And as you can see, in Leominster, there was 5 COVID cases confirmed, 3 in ICU. Restaurants. I've been around, but I'll tell you, they didn't just do a little modification to 435 down here. And here are some of the restaurants that are doing outdoor dining. They tore everything up, went 4 feet down. You should see what they're doing here. It's incredible. And I think it's going to be worth it. And all of the feedback that I've gotten everywhere, we're trying to get to every restaurant if we possibly can, has been positive. The food, the service, everything, right? So good. There's a list of retailers that are open. Don't forget, tomorrow begins, and I believe if you go to Leominster Community Development site, I don't know if we have a list of all those businesses. We should have the list of businesses who are participating in the Leominster Small Business event, but we are having one, and it's open to restaurants, pop-up events. So this is our old-fashioned bargain day sidewalk sale. So look for those sales. Some people, different businesses are participating. Check their website. Call them up if you have to, but that is ongoing. Okay, what did we forget? The access to every penny that counts, the CARES Act. So the city's getting $3.6 million from the CARES Act, and that has to replenish city government and Leominster Emergency Management and everybody. School department gets $1.2 million. We've taken a good chunk of our money to purchase any student that's out there that doesn't have an electronic device that they can keep with them in like a library book or a math book for the season. The city side of the CARES Act will fund that. We got approval today, as well as a number of hotspots. I'm not going to have time to go through this, but this is basically tells you the story by dashboard on where we are. You can see the cases are coming down, antibody studies, cases by county, and not changing much, although Essex County is the only dark blue side. Everybody else has gone to either the middle Leominster blue or they've gone to light blue. 939 currently in confirmed. There's our hospital data, which was important. The average age and where did those deaths take place. 8,000 cases. We're reaching 8,000 cases here in the state of Massachusetts. Cases and cases by age group. 51 is the average. 68 is the average age of those being hospitalized, and 81 years old of those that pass away from the virus. We are out of time, and as we said before, watch our morning segments because we update you on what's happening. We get kind of shifted away a little bit on the school stuff, but plenty going on, plenty of projects. If you've been by Central Street, we're starting to tear down those buildings for the long-awaited police station. Okay, out of time. Want to thank you guys for coming in here this afternoon and right through the COVID, and appreciate it much. Thank you for watching. Remember, the world is run by those. You've got to show up. Good night.
Inside Leominster is brought to you through the generous support of Colonial Insulation Company, residential and commercial insulation and fireproofing services, specializing in blown-in cellulose as well as spray foam insulation. For more information, visit their website, colonialinsulation.com, and by Medical Arts Hearing Instruments, 52 West Street in Leominster, locally and authentically providing better hearing and quality of life since 1978. www.donotshout.com.